Brendan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for being part of this experience, helping to bring media trends to life. We really appreciate it.
It's an honor to be here for the inaugural Media Trends Live.
I think it's the best one. This is a bit of a homecoming for you.
This room in particular is, yes. I worked at Time Inc. for 16 years, working on the Sports Illustrated, Fortune, Money, and Time brands. Mm-hmm. And we occupied this building before we were acquired by Neil and his team. But I was already gone by then. But yeah, it's great to be back.
And now you're merging your passions for journalism technology together into Pushly. For those not as familiar, how would you describe Pushly?
So Pushly is an engaging notification platform. So if you were to arrive at a website on your desktop or mobile device, you'll eventually see that browser drop down that says, this domain would like to show you notifications. When you do accept notifications, and many of you in the audience will say, oh, I never click allow on that. Well, the reality is many of you already have, and on average, across our entire global network, about 7% of your daily audience will click allow. At that point, you'll start to receive notifications from that domain across the top right of your screen if you're on an Apple, bottom right on a PC, and obviously in the system tray on your mobile device. And merging these two passions for premium content, brands, content written by human beings, which I believe is still a thing. We're a fan of all of that, including what we're able to do to support local journalism and make sure that local journalism still thrives for the future of our democracy. Specifically
for brands, both on the product and services side, what key challenges are you solving for them?
So it was funny, Neil and Roger in their interviews earlier pretty much wrote the presentation for Pushly, in that every single brand in this country, if not world, is talking to their investors or Wall Street about DTC. Everything wants to go direct to consumer. Well, what's fundamentally changed, obviously, is AI, and those guys mentioned it ad nauseum, but as Google transitions to be an answer engine rather than a search engine, a majority of the world's publishers and e-retailers have lost literally 30 to 50% of their traffic overnight. And so if you think about the stores now officially closed, where are you going to go to create that one-to-one dialogue and one-to-one relationship with the consumer? So when someone accepts notifications, we now have that permission to send them what it might be. The secret sauce to Pushly is using AI and machine learning to now understand what it is that person in particular will want to read and have that notification show up on their device. So we are written into the JavaScript on every single page, and we consume then and crawl and learn exactly the different reasons of why you and I might go to a site like Forbes. So Forbes knows now that we both go to Forbes for market data, but you go for luxury travel and I go for luxury watches. If the Forbes CMS now has content that is about watches, I'm now going to get that notification, but you're not. And when you deliver the right content to the right person at the right time, that's when you start to see the relationship really start to blossom and grow. And we work very, very closely with all of our partners to make sure that the consumer is reaching the right amount of messages and the right content.
So you were teasing a little bit of this already, which is retention of the folks and also people who are opting in. What other ways are you measuring ROI and customer success?
I am having the time of my life at Pushly because of that question. For the past 20 plus years of my career, I was largely in sponsorship and ad revenue. And have you ever heard that quote? I know half of my advertising budget works, I just don't know which half. It's really, really hard to be a salesperson if you're not at the performance space for advertising, and that you're always trying to job justify of why you should sponsor this event or partner with us as a brand. The beauty of Pushly is that it has a direct ROI effect for all of our customers. In fact, the blessing and the curse of the product is that everyone internally falls in love with us. The editor-in-chief falls in love with us because we're a fire hose of traffic on any story they deem important. The consumer marketing director falls in love with us because we're selling paid subs. The chief revenue officer falls in love with us because we're providing more ad impressions for programmatic or direct. And the marketing department loves us because as all of these brands move to branded content, For anyone that sat in that job, you know the drill. Like, you sold this unbelievable editorial package to the CMO of name the brand, and then all of a sudden the contract is about to expire and you're coming up short on the views. Well, we're working with publishers to also help them distribute that branded content, not going out and buying garbage traffic, but actually bringing the audience that the CMO wanted you to have back to begin with. And so I look at Pushly really as a customer service first organization. And by really understanding the challenges of publishers, the business was built specifically for news and publishing. And that key understanding is what has driven, we've had 99% renewal of all of our customers. This will be our 4th year in a row of that stat. So that doesn't happen in 2025 when CFOs are always looking ways to cut, to reinvest in what their AI strategy is going to be, unless you're actually delivering that ROI. And when you deliver it across all of those measures and all of those platforms, it tends to be more of an easier renewal process than maybe I had experienced in my past career.
Well, in the short 4.5 years that you've been leading the company, you've seen tremendous growth. We were talking backstage a little about that, but also about email and this idea at the beginning that you mentioned about going direct to consumer, which you all want, and email was and still continues to be, as we just heard from Emily and Janice, a way to be direct. But what does that push notification give to brands, publishers, that the email doesn't?
Well, there's several things. First of all, I think one of the challenges that media and publishing companies are having is that since the search traffic is significantly declining, they're using every tool at their disposal to have that one-to-one relationship. So for example, I just signed up for a global subscription to a financial institution. As I was going through the subscription process, it said, are you interested in crypto? Yes. Are you interested in real estate? Yes. Am I interested in media? Yes. Well, my second or third day of being a customer of theirs, they sent me 15 emails. And I don't have time to read 15 newsletters a day from every brand in my business life and my personal life. Go Jets. And I just see that there's a significant challenge there. So by utilizing our notification technology, as long as the browser is running, the notification shows up. And so to get that guarantee of your notification is going to cut through the clutter and get to the consumer is important. One of the other things that we've focused on a lot with news organizations particularly, and our partners in the weather alerts business, is speed to the consumer. So don't get me wrong, like there's a lot of premium brands we work with that no one would ever argue that they don't have the best newsroom maybe in the country, if not planet Earth. But if I read through a notification from a smaller news organization that the Pope died peacefully with several people around him, and I read your email 12 minutes later, don't get me wrong, you have the superior newsroom, but the reality is I've already read the fact that I need from a push alert, and I don't need to click on that article. So you can also really take advantage of late-breaking news and things that can't wait.
And it's really a portfolio of services too, if you think about what everyone provides.
For sure.
Over the next 3 to 5 years, and I know you touched a little bit about how on AI is already helping you figure out the right permissions. How else do you see the products and services at Pushly evolving?
So we're fighting AI with AI. So it's really interesting because all these publishing companies and e-retailers, their traffic, like I said, has dropped like a stone, and they've called us and said, hey, you know that thing you pitched a year ago? We really need that. So our business is taking off tremendously. And including building our own AI platforms, we're also finding partners. So we haven't made the announcement yet, so I'm not going to name the CDP, but we've partnered with a CDP who's actually building a recommendation engine for a large global publisher. And when you think about publishers and e-retailers, there is a boatload of historical content that you spent money on, years ago that still would be valuable today if you found the right person at the right time. So if you're a news organization and you've sent out the notification that there's a hurricane that is going to hit North Carolina, and at the same time, through our data, we now know that that person is not only interested in that hurricane, but based on their past 90 days of traffic, they are weather obsessed and you have in your archive a story that you had done 6 years ago on the anatomy of a hurricane, this is a great opportunity for you to continue building that relationship and that conversation with your audience in a way that they're just not going to find in a Google search world in 2025. And it's not something you're going to put in your email newsletter either. So we're very strategic in terms of how we work with our partners to help them build that relationship and keep that one-to-one dialogue very strong.
Permission, timeliness, engagement, you've got it all. Brendan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Again, for helping make this come
Thank
through.
you for having me. Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Thank you.